Yo, what's going on guys, it's Cynical and welcome back to part 2 of looking at Kingdom Hearts 2 from different angles. We're going to be picking up from where we left off in part 1. If you guys haven't already seen part 1, I'm going to leave it in the description down below. Now also as a side note, we are able to explore all of the Gummy Ship missions as well with the free cam. That won't be happening in this video because again, it's just taken so much time to go through all of the remaining worlds we have. That will be a follow-up video at some point. I'm really excited for that one though because obviously when you're going through the different Gummy Ship missions, it's an on-rails shooter type setup, so it's kind of hard to take in exactly everything that you're surrounded by. Olympus is the only world that doesn't appear in this video, only because of the fact that I really couldn't find anything too interesting in regards to Olympus, but aside from that, we're going to be looking at all of the worlds that weren't included in part 1. So we're going to start off with the starting area of the Land of Dragons. There's two areas that I want to show off. This is of course the Bamboo Grove, and I wanted to give you guys a bit of view of actually what's beyond these bamboo shoots right here. Some of you guys might know that there is a burnt down village just beyond the bamboo right here, and this does actually appear in the very beginning cutscene when Shenyu is ominously kind of walking through to give him a really cool introduction with the fact that this man doesn't mess around. But yes, he is standing in this area right here for that intro cutscene. Some of you guys will probably notice the burnt down village if you have stood here and kind of tried to peek through as Sora. But I didn't know that there were like rice fields and stuff here. There's like a little river which is really cool, even with like a little bridge that goes across. Again, this area is quite detailed, but that is pretty much primarily for that intro cutscene into the world itself. Not only that, but we do have a very low poly version of the encampment as well. And this is because you can slightly see the encampment when you are walking towards the exit of the Bamboo Grove, as you guys can see just down the hill. Next, I wanted to talk about the village area. So I wanted to show this off just to give you guys an idea as to how Square Enix developed this set. Obviously, from where the player is able to see and explore, everything looks very convincing, right? Sora would be down here. You're also able to jump on top of these roofs, but everything looks pretty good. However, though, if we do take the camera out of bounds, then you'll notice that all of the mountains start to become very spliced up. Again, this is all the whole camera angle trickery. From where the player is actually able to stand, everything looks as it should, everything looks normal, but in actuality everything is just randomly positioned and spliced up to give it a convincing look from where the camera is able to see things. This is quite a big map as well, considering that the playable space is just the little village right here, and that the entire set is actually this big. Of course, everything is very, very low poly. It's just one big texture that's been placed down here with some very low textured mountains. But it's always interesting to know how much of an area developers actually use for the playable space and how big the area actually is in its entirety. This right here is the moon chamber in the Mysterious Tower, and this is the only room that I wanted to show off for the Mysterious Tower world. I wanted to show you guys the ceiling. I have never ever noticed the moon on the ceiling. This is, again, another one of those things where it's like, unless you're actually looking up, which you would be able to if you activate the first person mode in Kingdom Hearts 2 by pressing the select button, you're just never going to notice this detail. So I thought I'd show it off for those of you who never knew about this. I didn't know about it until actually being able to no-clip. So yeah, quite interesting. So for Port Royal, I wanted to show off specifically the Port Royal part of the world, the little town or village. It's crazy to think that this entire space right here is now completely explorable, and it is one big area in Kingdom Hearts 3. Obviously the Port Royal part, the actual port itself in the town, was divided into 3 separate areas for Kingdom Hearts 2. So we have the rampart here, and then down here we have the harbor area, and then a third separate area over here, which is the town. Obviously now maps can be a lot bigger in scale and can contain that much more detail. There's no need to make multiple separate areas for what is essentially just one area in itself. But yeah, it's wild to see the entirety of Port Royal right here with the camera. Everything of course is very low poly because we're not meant meant to be this close up. But it is surprising to see just how much detail remains to again give you a really good idea as to where the geographical locationing of a lot of these locations and areas actually are within the world space from where the player is actually standing. And it's also real cool to actually go inside of this rampart area. You're not meant to be in here at all. Obviously in Kingdom Hearts 3, we're now able to completely scale up this wall and then jump over these walls into this little space right here. Also, what's neat too is this little path that leads up to the rampart is used with the Goofy slider to collect all of the different white crabs. So it definitely makes me think that while there is a lot of Port Royal reference within the actual Pirates of the Caribbean movie that Square Enix likely used to recraft the world for Kingdom Hearts 3, it certainly does make me think that Square probably used their own Port Royal map here in Kingdom Hearts 2 as a point of reference when developing the world for Kingdom Hearts 3 to make it really feel like you're returning to the same place and that there isn't too many significant changes. I also wanted to show off the harbor section real quick, so now we've got a lot more detail going on in the harbor. And again, I really need to reiterate, and I think that Port Royal is the perfect world to demonstrate this point, but I need to reiterate how good looking of a game Kingdom Hearts is. It's aged extremely well. Considering that this is a 2005-2006 game, it looks really good for its time. So here we have the Pride Lands. This is the very starting area, the Gorge. I just wanted to quickly show off all of the hyenas that are standing around the edge of the gorge right here. Now obviously when you're in this actual area, we won't see all these different 2D cutouts of the hyenas. These are of course used in the very intro cutscene, and how they are all slightly angled too, to give that illusion of them looking down on the camera. This is Pride Rock before the savannah goes completely dry and desolate, and of course Scar takes over. It's really odd to see the Pride Lands looking lush green and healthy, because of course it is all just desolate and dry and not healthy, right? The reason why this map exists is because at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2, during the credit sequence, we see quite a few different cutscenes from all of the Disney worlds that we visited, and the conclusions of what happened to those worlds after Sora, Donald, and Goofy visited. The conclusion here with the Pride Lands is, of course, everything returns to normal because now Simba is king, just like what happens in the movie, and the Pride Lands has returned to a nice, luscious, green, healthy state. So that's fantastic to see. It's just crazy that this whole map exists even though it was only used for one ending cutscene, which I'm sure like quite a lot of people probably didn't even really pay attention to those ending cutscenes, and this specific Pride Lands cutscene only lasts for a few seconds. I only hope that at some stage in Kingdom Hearts' future, yeah, we do get the return of the Lion King. That would be absolutely fantastic. For it to be used only as a world once in one Kingdom Hearts game seems a little bit criminal, even though Simba has appeared in quite a few Kingdom Hearts games. Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 3. We need to return here. I don't know what they'd do from a story standpoint. They could go for, you know, obviously the story of Lion King 2, but either way, we need to see it return. Lion Sora is so much fun, and especially with the scale and size of worlds now with modern Kingdom Hearts, I need to absolutely see it happening. Like, we could literally be exploring the entirety of this whole region within one playable space, not a multitude of cut up areas. This is known as the Overlook Area, so this is used for a cutscene within the world when Simba is obviously talking to Mufasa. A very powerful moment indeed, but it's cool to be able to explore this again because it only appears very briefly for a specific cutscene. Again, all of this detail really does take me back, even though if you do take the camera up close, everything is just simple 2D images that are positioned to give off the illusion of trees and whatnot. All of the bushes and the flowers and stuff, it all looks really, really, really nice. You probably wouldn't have thought it back then just due to the resolutions and whatnot, but now that we can actually see Kingdom Hearts within 1080p or higher, you've got to admit, this is a game that has aged very gracefully. And I thought I'd also show off Wildebeest Valley with the trees looking all nice and green, and with the color palette as well looking a little bit more lively. Obviously, there's a very like dull, greeny, depressing type color palette sort of going on with the playable primed lands. Okay, so next up we have Space Paranoids. Space Paranoids is really, really cool to take the camera out of bounds with, just because these spaces are absolutely massive, and there's quite a lot of stuff going on with those animations and the backgrounds there and all of these weird looking, I don't know, digital computer data cell thingies. Yeah, the space is absolutely huge. Also, look at the Space Paranoids clouds in this world. It looks really cool, little like Tetris cubes kind of floating in the air. I absolutely love it. Considering again that the only part of this space is playable is this tiny little square right here. What I did want to show off is that there is a hidden room in this map, and this is it right here. This is for the very beginning of the world where Sark is talking to the MCP. The MCP would be where this turquoise looking rectangle is. And I also wanted to show off the canyon area too. This is quite a huge area with a lot going on. So the whole space that we were looking at just before within the pit cell exists here within the canyon area, because of course once you make your way to the entrance of this specific area, you'll be standing here on this little elevator disc. You can look back and you can see where you came from off in the distance. Of course, this whole data cell block space is a lot less detailed than it was before when we're standing in the actual pit cell. But I mean, this whole thing is absolutely massive. Once again, I did want to show off another secret room that is again used for a cutscene. And that is the inside of the pit cell exists within the canyon space. Just like we were talking about in the Starry Hill area for the 100 Acre Wood, the interior of Pooh's house is inside of Starry Hill. So because a cutscene area already exists within a map that you're already in, the game won't have to load a separate area. So that's why we see the little computer in the pit cell existing within the canyon space. Now there's only one area that I want to show off for the Timeless River, and that is the construction site area. Obviously, this is used for a specific combat scenario in Timeless River, where of course we're having to save Mickey's ass. But you probably won't be paying too much attention to the construction site, only because, as Sora in the scenario, you'll be getting flung up and down, up and down, up and down, and you're having to kill a certain amount of Heartless within a time limit, so it can be pretty stressful. But I thought I'd show off more of the details that are in this space and what is down below, because you're probably never ever going to see what is actually down below. So we've got some, obviously some work vehicles here, a digger, looks like there's a cement slide of sort with an actual cementer sitting here. But again, there's a lot of detail in this space, even though for the most part, you're just never going to see, like, any of it. Next, we're going to be looking at Twilight Town. So this room is known as the Empty Realm, and again, you guys can pretty much assume by this point, this is used for a cutscene, one with Naminé. What I like about it is it's got a lot of what looks like the cards from Chain of Memories sort of sitting around the place. Super cool, super cool. And again, with the whole reflection technique, it is being used here again, with everything being duplicated and flipped underneath the floor. The next room we're going to be looking at is Roxas's room. Yes, the homeboy himself. I wanted to show off just more of the details within Roxas's room. We've got a little bag and a belt right here hanging over some star and moon hooks. The theme of stars is very prominent within both of Roxas and Sora's room. If you guys have seen my Kingdom Hearts 1 Out of Bounds video, which again, I'll leave that in the description down below, then I do show off Sora's room in that, and you will notice that there are a lot of stars. So, because of the fact that essentially Roxas is, to a degree, Sora, he is Sora's nobody, Roxas's data room within Data Twilight Town takes on some similar themes with these star lights up here. I've always been very intrigued by this little star device. It kind of makes me think, is this like a reference to the world that never was? Just because the general design and aesthetic of this thing looks very the world that never was. Some folders on the desk with a disc. This thing is also really neat too, some kind of lamp with like coral inside of it. And also this massive, what looks like an anchor is just kind of sitting in Roxas's room. I don't know what the purpose is behind this. Very, very interesting. Roxas's ass TV. Like, I don't know what's with this thing, but it's super cool, man, with the bat wings and some interesting looking face on it too. The drawers for the TV cabinet have little stars on them as well as a moon, and if we also look at the design of the door, there are stars and a moon there too. Not only that, but we also have the crescent moon once again on a little picture that's hanging up with the star there as well. So yeah, big star moon theme going on. The blankets or pillows do have stars all over them as well. There's even a book right here which looks like some kind of spaceship book with a 2 and a star. I was trying to also get a better look at this book that's sitting on the shelf. It looks like a fish that is just in front of some seaweed. And then this right here, it's kind of hard to get a good look at it, but that almost looks like a mermaid. So it also seems like there's a bit of an aquatic theme going on too, just with the coral lamp that's sitting here. Of course though, in a certain cutscene, we do see Roxas open up his windows to then see the sprawling Twilight Town off in the distance. So we can sort of take the camera outside of his room and see the exact positioning of his house. Of course, we do actually get to see that within the cutscene itself. It's very, very interesting to explore Twilight Town when it's looking this lowly detailed, but still, with the whole geographical locationing accuracy going on, with this being the Sandlot, with that Sandlot building even being there, the front is all accurate to what the front of that building actually looks like when you are standing in the Sandlot. We've even got the clock tower in the background, but of course, yet again, a very low poly version, with the back of the train station sitting there. And yes, even the tram common, even down to the billboard signage, it's all accurate, man. It is all completely accurate, even to the point of the chimney positioning. Like, it's ridiculous how much Square pay attention to all this kind of thing. So we have talked about the unicorn designs in the past in a very old, crusty video, so I want to bring this back into relevance. There's also one detail that I personally never noticed before that I'm going to share soon, but let's talk about the unicorns. So there was a bit of a theory kind of floating around due to the fact that there are these prominent unicorn designs all around the mansion, even with this fountain being a statue of a unicorn. There's a theory floating around that perhaps maybe the original owner of this mansion in Twilight Town could possibly be Ira. Personally, I do think this theory is being disproven just because we know that Ira has been, well, dead for an extremely long time. But it is very, very odd that there is just this very apparent unicorn sort of theming going on in this mansion. Another thing that I do want to point out too is, of course, this, well, looks like, I don't know, a lion or tiger head that's around the walls as well. This also got me thinking about Gula. This was, of course, way before Kingdom Hearts Key, and I'd like to think maybe even the idea of Kingdom Hearts Key. I know a lot of people say that Nomura does plan years and years and years in advance, which I do believe. Like, Nomura is an absolute madman when it comes to storytelling, and having certain details in one installment from way back when, like of course the Arc device, which first appeared in Kingdom Hearts 1 and is only now relevant due to that of Kingdom Hearts Union Cross. A lot of the time though, this more so leans into the realm of retconning, but at the same time too, it does make me think that Nomura likes to leave little breadcrumbs for himself that in the beginning of developing that certain thing he has an idea for that will later on get used. So I don't believe that this is like anything to do with the Unicornus faction, but it is very interesting to think about. However, the detail that I certainly did want to talk about in the dining room specifically is the crown detailing. I've never noticed this crown that is around the wall. Again, here is another unicorn that's lying about. The moon as well as the stars. And just for the sake of sharing it, did you guys ever notice the clock in this room? It's themed to that of a skeleton, with the skeleton head up the top and the clock hands being bones. Here's the library section of the mansion. Again, another unicorn. It's very interesting. Whoever owns the mansion certainly had a thing for unicorns. But I wanted to show off the little drawing that's on the desk here. that of course Roxas uses in order to activate the floor mechanism to get down into the basement area. It consists of the Heartless, Nobody, and Crown emblem, representing the 3 different corners that make up a person. In this sense, the crown would represent the somebody, the nobody sigil to represent the nobody, and the heartless sigil to represent the heartless version of that person. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Roxas fills out the nobody area of this trifecta. Let's take a look at the White Room, Naminé's room in the mansion, to give you guys a better look at Naminé's drawings that are all over the wall. So of course we have Destiny Islands. This is the main island with the mountains in the background. This right here is the entrance of Hollow Bastion from Kingdom Hearts 1. Sora, Naminé, and Riku in Chain of Memories. Naminé, Sora, and Dark Riku. The Heartless Keyhole within the Hollow Bastion Castle from Kingdom Hearts 1. Kairi holding a Palpu. Roxas and Axel talking to 2 other organization members. Just because of the blue right here, I'd like to believe that that is possibly Psyax. We have the abandoned house from Traverse Town in Kingdom Hearts 1. I'm pretty sure this drawing right here is Roxas while he was working in Organization 13 within the world that never was. Sora, Donald, and Goofy. We have Destiny Islands, a secret place from Destiny Islands, what looks like the ship from the Neverland world in Kingdom Hearts 1, and this right here is obviously that little water concourse area, the secret little hidden place within Traverse Town in KH1, where Kairi and Sora finally reunite. Library of Hollow Bastion, and finally Sora and Roxas holding hands. Ain't it sweet? Oh, my bad. I thought I was completely finished with the drawings. We've got some crayons right here on the desk, which is super cool. They actually do have colors to them as well. We've got a red, blue, green. But yes, we have the gang sitting on a Palpu fruit tree. Axel in possibly Castle Oblivion. Kingdom Hearts 1 Riku with the key, as well as the sleeping pod. And this looks like a drawing at the end of Hollow Bastion in Kingdom Hearts 1 when Sora is trying to wake up Kairi and eventually sacrifices himself. Now, there isn't too many interesting details per se to show off about the world that never was, but I'm going to show off quite a few rooms just to show you guys what these maps look like out of bounds. Now, you will notice that we have a complete duplicate of the world area, but like flipped upside down. Again, this is for the reflection technique, as there are puddles that lie here in the city streets. So in order to get these puddle reflections going on accurately as well, because we can actually see the reflection of the city from any angle, the entire area of this map has been flipped upside down. I absolutely love this technique. It's like gigabrain thinking for the time of technology back when, of course, Kingdom Hearts 2 was developed. And of course we do have the Nobody Castle in the background with Ansem's Kingdom Hearts Destroyer beaming up at Kingdom Hearts, with it already being fragmented. So within the Brink of Despair area, we can get a really good view of the entire Nobody Castle. It is absolutely massive when you consider that the playable space is just this tiny little thing like down here. It's literally only a few meters, and that the true size of this map is just essentially the entire Nobody Castle. It seriously is quite impressive. Of course, a lot of it isn't properly modeled because, again, we're not meant to see any of this, but it does look convincing from where the camera is actually able to see. But yeah, that is the entire, for the most part, Nobody Castle, with the big ominous looking crater down below, with the city right around the perimeter. I also really like this dark cityscape 2D image that is positioned behind the exit, or of course entrance to this area, whether you're coming or going. But yeah, it's really cool. It gives off that really dark, ominous feel from the city below, from where you actually came from in the Memories skyscraper space. Also thought I'd show off the prison. This is where, of course, Organization 13 held Kairi, poor old Kairi. But yes, this is the prison. Of course, it was used for a cutscene. This is Nothing's Called, the first area of inside of the Nobody's castle. If we take the camera out of bounds, we can see significantly less of the castle. Of course, we're not meant to see much more than the main pillar right here. But again, this space is absolutely massive. This is looking outside of the lift that takes you up the Nobody Castle. Really cool. It's absolutely huge, and a lot of these areas within the castle itself are just insanely big, even though so little of it is used for the playable space. Look at this. It is insanely big. Absolutely huge. Square did just such a good job. Damn! This is of course the Xigbar Arena. I just wanted to quickly point out the nobody sigils that do appear here. Some of you guys may have noticed these, but just for those of you who haven't, we've got some on the floor. And then if we look towards this wall, there is one there. There's also 3 of them up here. This really, really big one with 6 sort of angel-looking wings on either side. And if we turn the camera, we can see 1 above this door, 2 above this door, and 3 over here as well, again with more angel wings. This cozy little space just in here, as well as that one over there, those are the cozy spaces that Xigbar is standing in when we have to perform the reaction command to, of course, flick back his projectile right back at his chin. This is the Nort's Skyway area. Really cool, right bang smack somewhere on the side of the castle. And when we're at the tippity top of the castle, this isn't actually as big as you may have thought, because of course we're at the top, we're not really meant to see too much else of the castle sticking out, and there's a lot of this blue and pinky, I guess, cloud or fog going on. It blocks out the view of the rest of the castle down below, so it means that Square didn't really have to model too much for the top of the castle. But again, looking at all of the nobody sigils that are positioned around the top of the castle itself, looks really, really cool. And again, we've got the big wing thing going on that flicks off here, and that is enveloping the spire of the castle. I absolutely love it. So this space right here is where we, of course, fight Xemnas' dragon form, one version of it anyway. It's a super, super trippy space to explore with the free cam. Just because this whole cityscape is all warped and wrapped around, and it looks like it's being sucked into this big dark vortex death. Taking the camera around, yeah, it's just this big sort of sphere with all of these different buildings sort of wrapped around the inside layer to make it look really, really trippy, really cool. Like the entire world is swallowing itself. I absolutely love it. And the very final space that I wanted to talk about is the arena that is used for when Sora and Riku face off against Xemnas' Keyblade armor, No Heart. What I wanted to bring up is, first and foremostly, this whole arena is taking place on what looks like a crown. Also, the different nobody weapons that appear around the throne. Now, we can only notice one here, and that is, of course, Zoldan's spears. But there are more of them. Sayax's Claymore also appears here as well, except it just won't appear in this map because it's its own individual asset that was added into the map. So it isn't hard modeled into the map itself, but what is Luxord's cards on the ground, as well as, and I never noticed this, I never noticed this, but Demex's Sitar is hard modeled into this map, and I just never noticed that Demex's Sitar is right here, bang smack on the ground, underneath some kind of energy field type thing.
Does that mean he's the master of masters?
Well guys, that's all of the more interesting details and stuff that I came across while being able to take the camera out of bounds for the worlds of Kingdom Hearts 2. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there will be a follow-up video like this at some point exploring all of the different Gummy Ship Mission maps, so stay tuned for that. However guys, as always, do let me know your thoughts and opinions. I've been Cynical, hopefully having a fantastic day, and I'll catch you dudes in the next one. Peace.